Okay, I think we're good. Yep.
Can't believe Maddie's not watching. It looks like it's dark right here. Is it dark there? Or it's okay on there. Oh yeah. Oh, there's Maddie. Hi, Maddie. All right, it's 5:30, is it? 5:30? Yes. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? It is Friday, May 22nd, about 5:30 at night. We are going to present our second video virtual workshop tonight. This is the project. So this has kind of been an evolution for us. The last time we did the flower box workshop, which is a workshop I had taught live a couple of times. This is a brand new project, so fingers crossed. I haven't practiced. I've obviously made this one, and okay, I have practiced because I also made this one. But we haven't taught this to anybody before, so hopefully we can figure this out and do a good job for you tonight. So some of you have picked up your kits already and are hopefully going to craft along with us. Please ask any questions, even if you don't have a kit at home and something doesn't make sense. Sometimes I forget to say something. So if you're watching and you have questions, please do put them on there. Wendy is going to be watching for comments and will fire your questions at me. If you like the project at the end, this is kind of like, I think the neat thing about a video workshop is you almost get to like preview the project and preview the process, and then you can decide to make one later if you want. So we sell all of the components for the project if you want to do something slightly different on your own, or if you want to do this one, you can just buy a kit. It's a nice way to be able to try things out. So without further ado, do we have anybody watching?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Debbie Garreau
hi, Debbie.
says hi.
Debbie is my friend's Brenda mother-in-law.
Janice Weeb, Shannon Richardson.
Oh, hi. Oh, Shannon.
Yeah,
Shannon.
I know.
Oh,
as soon as her name popped up.
Shannon has a kit. I was like, does anybody who have a kit gonna join? Because everybody said we picked a bad night for them. So I was afraid no one with a kit would join. So ask questions, Shannon. You're our person. Sorry, Wendy.
Kathy Snellgrove says hi.
Oh, Kathy. Oh, she has a kit too. Hi, Kathy.
Grover Ranching. I can't remember who that is.
Oh, that might be Audrey. Is that Audrey? Audrey and Dawn? Okay, they don't have a kit yet.
Your dad.
My dad does not have a kit. You guys believe my dad does not have a kit. So anyway, the kits will be available on our website. If you watch this and you think it's something you'd like to try, the kits are still available on the website. The idea is that we will leave the video up forever and all time. So if you have a kit and you are joining us at another time, you'll still be able to make your project. If you want to do the project in a month or 6 months or whenever, for now anyway, the kits will remain available. So this is what we're going to make tonight. It is a 12 by 12 inside dimension frame, 13 by 13 on the outside. The frames, I'm going to set this aside actually. So in your kit, you will have received a blank, what do you call this? A blank. It's a blank sign-in frame. So these are made right here in Alberta, made from solid birch. I don't like to craft on things that are not extremely good quality, because I think that it's too much time and too much work and too much effort to craft on something and then have your blank fall apart. So these are really well made. They're made with, the inside part is 1/2 inch birch and made right here, and like just outstanding craftsmanship on them. So that's what we're going to turn into this. So go ahead, and you should have received instructions. Your instructions, I will apologize already, as I was reading them over tonight, are not 100% accurate. So the next instructions will not have this black line that I've drawn on here. And one thing I forgot to tell everybody to grab is just a really small container that you can pour the top coat into. We should have included a little cup like this and we forgot it. So just something small that you can put the top coat into is one thing that should have been on the list and wasn't on your list, but we can do that later. So go ahead and grab your sign blank out, and the first thing you're gonna do is take your screwdriver, which was on your list, and go ahead and remove the screws out of the kit, or sorry, out of the sign, and put them somewhere that you won't lose them. You probably need a little cup for that too if you're like me. At some point I'm always asking Wendy for hardware. Hardware and screwdrivers and tape measures and scissors. All the time, right, Wendy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We go through a lot.
We do go through a lot. All right, so go ahead and remove those screws. And now your sign will be in 2 pieces. It just comes apart just like that. And we are going to work with we are going to work with this part first. So get that ready. Now in your kit you will receive little containers of paint. Go ahead and get those out. The one that is kind of more yellow than the other is actually your wax. So set that aside. That will be the last thing you use tonight. But go ahead and get out your white paint. This is American Paint Company paint. That's the brand of chalk paint that we use in all of our workshops and that we love the most. And the color we chose for this project is Navajo. And Navajo has just got like a little bit of a gray undertone to it. It is my favorite white. It's not a creamy color, it's a white, but just with that tiniest little bit of gray undertone. Now, some of you will have purchased, or did purchase, thank you, our Workshop Essential Kit. This is a really old one. This is the one I use all the time. The Workshop Essentials Kit is great if you're going to do a lot of DIY projects at home or maybe more workshops at home. If you purchase this, you can go ahead and get your paintbrush out. Your paintbrush, maybe I'll show you what a new one looks like. So your paintbrush has got, it's the one with the yellow on the bottom of it. That's what you're going to paint with. And this is your glaze brush, which we will probably actually not use in this project. A little later we could use it. But if you bought the kit, use this. If you didn't buy the Essentials kit, go ahead and get out the biggest one of your foam brushes, which is the 2-inch wide foam brush, and this will also do the trick. Now, this paint doesn't look like a very big container, but it's kind of like a paint concentrate. It's a chalk paint. And this little spot, this little container, will do both sides of this board quite easily, and even more. So if you think about it like concentrate, you don't want to use it straight up. It gets really chalky and you get a lot of paint lines in it, so you're going to water it down. So it doesn't matter whether you're using your foam brush or you're using your chalk paint brush. Which brush should I use, Wendy? Some people have this, some people have this.
I know.
I'm going to use
Both.
both. Wendy's looking at me like, why are you asking me that? This one came in the kit. Well, this one will do a better job. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Use this one. Everybody has this. I'm going to use this one to start anyway. So go ahead and just get it a little bit wet. Hopefully you have a cup of water handy. And you don't want it like soaking wet, but a little bit of water is good. And then dip it into your white paint, and you're just going to paint. And that was obviously, there we go. And you don't need thick layers, but you do want coverage. Okay. And don't worry about, like I go up and down, sideways, backwards, forwards. I don't have the patience to do it all one way, and in the end it won't make any difference. So just get some paint on there. And this does not have to be a perfectly thick coat. That's the other thing about using the other brushes, you actually will use less paint. We just want to get some coverage on here, and then we're going to do a second coat after this coat dries. No questions yet?
Nope.
We have more people watching I can say
Yep.
hi to. Who else can I say hi to?
Charlene Gale,
Oh, she's my dad's cousin. Hi, Charlene.
Twyla.
Hi, Twyla. Twyla did a really beautiful project this week. Did I show you the pictures?
Yes.
I showed you the pictures of her
Yes.
shelf. Yeah.
Turned out good.
So that's not the shelf she was going to paint.
Oh.
Yeah, the shelf Twyla was going to paint. She said wouldn't accept the paint, so she's going to bring it in one day and help her. But her other one turned out really cute, hey?
Yeah. Tamara.
Tamara Zeber.
Yep.
Hello, Tamara.
Stephanie Dillon.
Hello. Oh, Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie.
That's it.
All my friends are watching. Not all my friends.
Oh, Joanne Kessler.
Hey, Joanne. Oh, I haven't seen Joanne forever. So back and forth. Don't worry about being too neat. It dries really, really quick, so you can kind of just keep going over it until, and you'll know when to stop. I'll put a little more water on here because it'll start to pick up the paint instead of laying the paint down. Okay. Now I want to make sure I give everybody enough time to keep up with me too, because I'm so fast. I'm such a fast crafter. Okay. We might add even a little bit more paint. It'll depend the temperature in the room you're working in as well. If it's really warm in your house, it will dry faster. If it's really cold in your house, like Wendy's house, it will take a little bit longer to dry. But we are going to give it a second coat, so don't worry about getting it perfect. Yeah, and I'm starting to pick up more paint than leave. So I'm going to quit there and set it aside. Don't worry about doing the edges. It's actually, in fact, probably better if you don't do the edges because you want it to fit back in your frame. So don't do the back at this point and don't do the edges for sure because it needs to fit back tight. And lots of times when you can't get a frame to go back inside, it's because you get like a buildup of paint and you notice that when you took it apart, it was already really tight. So don't let paint build up a bit. So you can set that one aside and then we're going to do the same thing with your frame. Your frame we're going to use your black paint for and just use the smaller foam brush for it. You should have 3 foam brushes in your bag, and I would recommend painting all the way around the frame, just because any unfinished pieces of wood that have been cut like this will tend to want to warp over time. And if you're trying to ask me a question, Wendy has left, so she will catch up with the questions when she comes back. We're not ignoring you. So this doesn't need to be thick either. Just give it a nice thin coat. And the nice thing about this is if you start to see paint lines or paint strokes or it starts to build up, it's water soluble paint, so you can just add a little paint to it as you go. And I gave you 2 small foam brushes. Don't use the third one. But I gave you 2 small foam brushes in case you find that you need a second foam brush. And when Wendy comes back, I'm going to ask you guys that are doing it with us how it's going. So you can send that now if you're keeping up or if I'm going too fast. Let me know. Let me know if you can hear me. I've ordered a mic like, I don't know, feels like a year ago. A year of COVIDing ago, and it hasn't come. Well, the mic has come, but the cord hasn't come. And they didn't tell me that I was going to need a cord. So, I hope you can hear me. Wendy's coming back now, so if you guys can let us know if I'm going too fast or if the pace is okay for you, or if you have any questions. Wendy's back.
We're good.
We're good? Okay.
Well, I think so. Nobody said anything. So.
They're too busy. And the nice thing about how quickly this paint dries is by the time you work your way all around the frame once, it's pretty dry where you started. There's no right or wrong to this. You just got to get the frame black. It's cold in here today, hey?
It's cool.
Yeah, I think it's so cold outside. It feels like winter outside, doesn't it? So we are working on more workshop projects for you coming up. Hoping you guys are enjoying these. We love seeing the finished project, I guess. So if you did the flower box workshop and you haven't sent us a photo yet, please do. And of course, when you complete your project from tonight, please do. I feel like I'm standing here talking to myself.
I know.
I think I might be actually standing here talking to myself. Okay. Yeah, and my foam brush is starting to get pretty ratty already, so it's the other reason I like the other brushes. These end up getting thrown out. Okay, and I'm just going to paint the front of my frame now.
Oh, Kathy Snellgrove says they're busy painting.
They don't have time to text. I'm not a very careful painter, so I'm a very quick painter, Kathy. So if you're a careful painter, you might have to catch up. I'll try to go. Well, it's hard to tell me. Let me know when you finish. If you finish before me or after me, let me know just so I know I'm pacing at the right speed. I'm trying to think of something interesting to talk about too. So you should be getting, like, I hardly use any paint, and I'm almost done my frame. So if you're using a lot of paint, you are probably going to end up with a lot of brush strokes and a lot of thickness to your frame. And if you get thick paint on, it's hard to get a really professional finish. So one thing I like is when we can create something in a workshop that looks like it's something that you would want to buy in our store. So using a lot of paint is not the answer. Thin layers is better than a lot of paint, and then you don't get all the brush strokes too. So don't think this is about, and this black covers so easily that it doesn't need to take a lot of paint. We had an audience for a second. There goes Dave. You didn't say anything. Must not want to be on camera. See, every time I start talking like that, I start to mutter. I'm not saying anything important, but I'm muttering. Okay. I think, if I remember right, when I did the first one, I did the black all in one coat. So go ahead and try to fill it in. You can come back to it if you have to, but I'm pretty sure when I did the sample, it's just a one coat step. Like you're getting really great coverage with this black paint. And a little bit of water. Every once in a while I dip it in the water, I guess. I think my dad would say something, or did he leave?
I don't know.
Or you can't tell when they leave, can you?
Shannon says, not too fast, but remember we do need a small tea break.
All right, good. Let me know when you need a tea break, Shannon. Maybe we should have had tea. Everyone knows I'm going to talk a lot anyway, so. I think it helps when I do when we do a live workshop, I never do the whole project with you. I kind of just give you a little bit of a demo, and then we try to come around and help you. So it always feels like it takes a really long time because we do a demo, and then we're not doing anything, right? So I think it helps to pace it that I do it along with you. It's hard to get ahead of you when I'm still doing all the steps with you. That is not totally dry on that side. I might switch to the good brush. Or I might switch to the second foam brush. I don't know if your foam brush is starting to get like those little plasticky pizzas. Plasticky. Boy, I cannot. Plastic pieces. Go ahead and switch to the second one in your bag. There is an extra one for the frame. Okay. There we go. Yeah, and you'll know too, when the brush is getting worn out, you start to get streaks in your paint. And that's when you should switch to the side. I'm almost done, and the stubborn doesn't want to waste a brush girl in me. I'm going to try this, but it's probably going to regret it. Because it starts to pick the paint right back up off of it. And that is not cool. And it makes that really like nails on a chalkboard sound. Can you all hear that? Okay. So close. All right. And you're supposed to interact with me.
Yeah.
Wendy and I have spent a lot of time together lately. We might be actually running out of things to say to one another. Although I like to call Wendy at like 7 in the morning and 7 at night. That's when I have lots to say to her. What can we talk about now, so we're going to have to do that later. And I think I would also, I would recommend painting all the way around the frame just to keep it it seals it. And because it's so dry here, even though these were made here, as the moisture content in the air changes, and the wood will want to warp and shift, but if you just seal it, you'll never have that problem. So you get a little bit of paint on your hands, but that's okay. We're being creative, we're being a little bit messy, so it doesn't matter. Just make sure you go all the way around it. And then we could, if you decide you want to rustic it up a little bit, we'll do that later, but start with a good solid coat of paint. Okay. This is literally like watching paint dry. You're supposed to disagree, Wendy.
So I was typing, sorry.
Oh, you were typing?
Yeah.
What are you typing?
Just a thank you.
Oh, who are we thanking? What's going on?
Ashley Highgard.
Oh, hello. Ashley's watching?
Yeah, she says thanks for all the great info.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Thanks for watching, Ashley. So yeah, I'm hoping that this workshop project will kind of inspire you to make your own signs. Lots of times we get requests for custom signs, and this is something you could totally make at home. And anyway. So we're gonna have the blanks. Actually, we might even have the blanks on our website now. So if there's a different saying or a different something that you wanna do, you can buy the blanks. And like I say, don't buy crappy blanks because it's just no good to do all that work and then not have it turn out and last. But this will give you a really professional look when you're done at the end. Did I miss something?
Just right on that corner
Oh, yeah,
there.
I missed a tiny little spot. Okay. Yeah, and so now my brush is starting to take the paint off instead of that. Don't be like Julie. Switch to the brush. Switch to the second brush. Fill in those little nail holes. I think I'm going to call mine done. So I think the only two people that we know of with a kit that are watching is Shannon and Kathy. Is that right? Everybody was like, oh, I can't do it Friday night. We can't do it Friday night. I'm like, nobody has any questions who has a kit. I'm going to miss stuff. So Kathy and Shannon, if you can let me know when you're done your frame. You guys are like my testers tonight.
Guinea pigs.
Let me know when you're done. And if it's not perfect, it's okay, but it should be fairly filled in. But you can always come back. The nice thing about chalk frame is you can come back and add it in as you go. And then we're just going to set that somewhere to dry, and I don't have it somewhere.
Right on there.
Okay, Shannon, it's tea break time, or water break time. Now, you have black paint on your fingers more than likely. Now is a good time to wipe your fingers before you pick up that white frame again. Ask me how I know. Do not put the lid back on your black paint. The next time we use your black paint, we're going to stencil with it. And it's actually kind of nice if it gets a little bit of a crusty top to it, a little bit dried out. That'll make it less likely to run when you stencil it. So don't put the lid back on your black paint. Do put it somewhere you won't spill it. So just, I'm going to set it back here. No, I'm not, because I don't want to get it on that. I'm going to set it down here. So just keep the lid off, somewhere safe. Give your fingers a little rinse so that black paint doesn't come off on your whiteboard. I should have had baby wipes right here.
We did underneath. Were they all gone?
Well, I cleaned up today for some reason, which they might be in the back room. Could you go grab me baby wipes? So I don't have a sink here to wash my hands with. I think they're in the office from the, I think I took them up there. Okay. I think they're on the table actually. Okay, yeah, so you don't want to get that all over your whiteboard. Okay. Now I really don't know what to say because now I'm not really doing anything except for waiting for Wendy. I should clean this table too. And I can't see what you guys are saying. Are you guys saying anything? Oh, somebody's saying something. I really want to run around there and check. Wendy's walking really slow. Yeah, here she comes. Okay, let me know if you're done. Wendy will be back in a second. Or 10 seconds, 9.
Shannon is done.
Shannon is done? Okay. So I'm going to assume Kathy will be really close to being done then. We are going to touch your whiteboard. So again, make sure your hands are clean. There's another comment that popped up while you were gone. I think something came up.
Oh, Kathy was saying she's got her frame painted.
Okay, so we're heading back to our white frames as soon as you get your hands clean. I don't know how I got that much black paint on me. That's a tremendous amount of black paint. And it will come right back off onto your frame. So that's the great thing about our chalk paint is like just with a baby wipe, your hands are totally clean. You don't need any like paint thinner or anything to clean them. It's an all natural product. There's no chemicals in it. So very safe. That's why you can do it in your house tonight. You're not getting any fumes. And super easy to clean up. So as long as you don't seal it, it should come out of your clothing. I would still wash it tonight. Come off your floor, your counters really, really easily. Okay, if you guys are done, let's pick up our frame boards. Now, mine feels really cold. And so when it feels cold, that typically means that it isn't actually dry. So before we go to put any more paint on it, we want to make sure that there's no coldness left in it and that it's dry. Do you have something?
Can you just show the finished product Rebecca Fisher
Of
is?
the frame?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this.
Oh, this. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
The actual. This
Yeah.
is what we're making tonight. It's cute little. It's a 13 by 13 on the outside, I think, frame, and we're going to show you how to put these lemons on soon, which is great because it's not like where you go to a paint night and it'll kind of look like lemons at the end. It's going to look like lemons at the end. I went to a paint night and I came home to me, he's like, oh, are we keeping that in our house? Which I said, no, of course not, but even though I kind of was thinking about it until then. Okay, so if you have your hair dryer and your board is cold, just hit it with the hair dryer. It dries very, oh yeah, there we go. Dries very quickly, but we're moving fast. So just gonna make sure it's dry. Actually, I think it was dry. I think it's just cold in here. Okay, and then go ahead and pick up your 2-inch paintbrush again. You might need to get a little water on it and just fill this in a little bit. I think, like on mine, I wanted it fairly white. I wasn't going for a rustic finish on the back of the white part so much. And it's easier to distress it after. You can't paint a distressed look. So I would get it nice and solid and white. Okay. So in case you're just joining us now, we're making the sign I showed a few minutes ago with the lemons on it. So this is the kind of the neat thing about this new, I don't want to use new normal because I don't think it's normal. This new way of doing workshops, we don't know when we're going to be able to have in-person workshops again. It's a lot for us to figure out. So we're going to keep doing new projects and keep doing workshops this way. But it's really great because you guys get to preview the workshop and see if it's something you would be into or something that you would want to create. You get all the steps, the preview of the workshop, and then the kits are available on our website. And do you remember where they are on the website? There's like DIY.
Yeah.
It's under Creative Workshops.
Yeah.
There's a Creative Workshop, oh my goodness, Creative Workshop tab on our website. And then I think it says like, can you look, Wendy?
Yep.
DIY. She's gonna look. And then anyway, this video will stay up on Facebook, but it also moves over to our Rustic Ranch
Website.
And the videos all stay on there too. So if you wanted to do this, you can do the workshop on your own time now, which is kind of nice because that used to always be a thing when we were doing the live workshops, was that I really want to do this project, but I can't come this night. Will you offer it again? And sometimes it's really hard to offer a workshop, 3 or 4 times. Sometimes you live too far away to do a workshop with us. So this is it's forced us to grow and learn and change. So anyway, the kits will be available until we run out of them on our website. There is still kits available now. And you can have that kit shipped right to your door if you like, or you can come and do curbside pickup and pick it up in Airdrie. We do need a couple of days to put, or a little bit of notice. Don't just show up and ask for a kit to build the kit. But we have everything here to make it.
So if they go on our website to Creative Workshops and Products, and then the next drop down is Online Classes and Kits, and they're in there.
Okay, perfect. So yeah. It's kind of people have been saying to me for years, I live like in Saskatchewan, can you ship a kit? And I was like, no. How can I teach that? So this has really been, COVID has taught us to grow our business in a new direction actually. So it's been a real positive thing for us to be able to reach so many people so far away and do different things with our workshops. So it's been a win.
Kathy is asking, do you have little bumps on the board?
Yeah, and don't worry about them. Like paint bumps, Kathy? I have black bumps on my board for some reason. But yeah, you'll get some, I wonder what do you mean by bumps? Like are they the paint or they must be the paint, hey? Yeah, don't worry about it if it's just the paint. You'll kind of get, I don't think there's any way you can see it, but you will get streaks in it. If it's really thick and that's causing the streaks, add a little bit of water to your brush, but we're gonna sand it before we go forward, so don't worry. Should just be paint.
Yes, she said.
Yeah, just paint, don't worry about the paint. That's actually almost, it would be weird if you didn't have it, but we were gonna get rid of them. So there, I think my board is, I'm done painting my board. So it's a fairly solid, I don't know, can you guys see? It's like white now. So this is what it started with, and now it's white. And it's gonna look a little bit streaky while it's wet. If you have anything on your frame that you wanna fill in, now is a good time. but mostly I'm just going to talk for a couple minutes. We're going to leave this to dry just for a couple minutes, and then we're going to sand it. We'll hit it with the blow dryer in a couple minutes, but we're going to let it dry on its own and then just kind of finish it off with the blow dryer. And finish off with the blow dryer. Wendy sat up. There's a question? Wendy sits up when there's a question, I've learned. Yes? No?
Shannon said we'll get kit before next project, I think.
We'll get kit?
Yes.
What do you mean, Shannon? Shannon's too busy. She's too busy working to... Shannon got her kit, didn't she?
Today.
Yeah, so you have your...
Maybe before today, she means. Before the day of or something.
Before the day of next time? Fair enough. Yeah, it's a little bit...
Can you hold the finished up again?
Yep, I sure can.
Nope. That one.
The finished board. This is somebody new who wants to see it.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're making tonight. Kits will be on our website. Going through all the steps. But these are under our creative workshop and then under DIY at home kits, right, Wendy? Is that what you said? DIY at home videos. Wendy's in charge of this part.
Creative
workshops is
and
the
then
main heading.
and then it's online classes and kits.
Online classes and kits. This is the lemon drops kit.
Shannon meant the brushes kit.
Oh, the brushes kit. Yeah, the brushes kit's worth it. I know I couldn't figure that out before the last workshop how to do this, but it's so great. These brushes work so much better, and we always use these in our in-person workshops. And I don't know why it never occurred to me before. Well, we didn't need them as much for the last one, but going forward, these are. I mean, they're just the best paintbrushes. You won't regret it, especially if you're planning to do more workshops with us. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about the transfers. So, Iron Orchid Designs, you may have heard of them, may have not. We did a video on stamps with them. Actually, I guess we've done 2 videos on stamps with them. But maybe the product I love the most, or the product that impresses me the most, is their transfers. So their transfers are like, if you ever were a scrapbooker and you used to have, or did a paper crafts, you would take a popsicle stick, you would lay down this almost like an acrylic sheet, and you would rub over top of it, and it would transfer the image that was on the acrylic sheet onto your scrapbook page. And that's kind of what transfers are, except for furniture and DIY projects. So I think there was 23-ish different transfers. And the lemons are a transfer. So if you were to buy, oh yeah, let's open this up. If you were to buy the lemon drops transfer, so this is actually a really cool opportunity. Up until COVID-19, or until all the quarantine stuff started, we were not allowed to split up transfers and sell them in pieces. They wanted us to sell the whole transfer tube, which makes good sense. But when COVID-19 came and they started to encourage us to think outside the box, we said, well, can we cut up the transfers and just sell pieces of the transfers as part of the kits? And they thought that was a good idea. So normally you would buy this lemon drops transfer on its own and it would be $35, and you would get these whole bit of lemon, or you would get a whole transfer. So this is our first attempt at this, but what we did is we opened up the lemon drop transfer, and every one of you got a piece of it. And when you open up the tube, they are just beautiful. This is when I already opened it, did not need to.
Oh.
1 second. I had a 50-50 shot at that, and I thought I'd put them in that order. Okay, let's open up the new one. When you open up a transfer tube, there we go. The lemon drop transfer. So this transfer is 12 inches by 33 inches. So you get this whole sheet inside the tube of lemons. Now, can they see all that?
Yep.
Yeah. So what we did is I just carved you out a piece of this. So everyone's is still going to be a little bit unique and a little bit individual because we didn't all get the same piece of transfer. Some of you will have got like one piece of transfer that'll have 3 lemons in it. Some of you've got one that you get to cut up and play around with. The idea was just to get, this is sort of an introduction to transfers and give you a way to lay them out. So it comes on a clear acrylic sheet. It's got grid lines on it, which makes it really easy. If you were to take this and apply it onto a piece of furniture, easy to see. And then when you buy a whole kit, you get this little rubbing stick with every transfer that you buy. We didn't have any extra of these. We did like, I don't know, we had 125 of these before Christmas, and Wendy said, should we keep these? And I'm like, no, why would we ever use them? Every transfer has one, so we threw them away. So normally if you were to buy a whole transfer, you would get this little stick. We didn't have enough sticks to give everyone, so hopefully that you've grabbed a little credit card or something that you can use. So that's what the transfer looks like if you were to buy the transfer for $35. Now the lemon transfer is relatively new, but they've done lots of, there's like a farmer's market one, and they have some paintable ones that are black and white. We're actually going to do a video on transfers. I keep saying next week, but I've said next week for like 5 weeks now. But there's a whole transfer thing coming with or a whole transfer video coming with all the transfers, and not all the transfers, with more transfers in it. But those are all on our website, and their florals are beautiful. So Josie, one of the sisters, is so incredibly talented, and she like hand painted these lemons and all of the transfers, and then has them reproduced. So that's a hand painted image by Josie, not computer generated at all. Josie, not Julie. So just really, really beautiful. And actually, this cabinet behind us has 2 of the transfers on it. Like, they're meant for furniture. They designed this for furniture finishing, but we use it in lots of home decor projects now. So can you see, Wendy?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so you can see the bottom one? So like that piece across the bottom of the hutch here is a transfer. All of that beautiful sunflower flowers, that's our botanist journal transfer. Up on the top, we use one called Wildflower Botanicals. It's discontinued, but we have some left with the 3 flowers up here. And actually, there's even a little bit of flowers under there from the transfers, and that's all just what we're going to use tonight. And they're usually distressed. You probably can't see the distressing in them, can you?
Not real well.
They're usually a little bit distressed, so they're kind of rustic, and they fit our thing, or fit our theme at Rustic Ranch anyway. And beautiful and easy to apply, and just such amazing results. And if you've seen our window workshop classes that we did last fall, they were also done with the Iron Orchid design transfers. So that's what we're going to be working with tonight. So before you can apply a transfer, so a chalk paint has a chalky finish, right? And they don't like to stick to the chalky finish. They, it's like a sticker. And so if you were to apply it to a chalky finish, it's the same as applying it to a, almost like a dirty finish. So we need to make sure that we get this really nice and dry. So grab your blow dryer, and we are going to get your whiteboard as dry as you can. Has no more comments? So I think when I tested this at home, I must have been interrupted by my kids 40 times. That's why I thought it was really fast. But the chalk paint does dry quickly. I'm going to use heat. So it's dry to the touch right now, but it's better if it's not cold. So deal with this hairdryer. There we go. Everybody keeping up, as far as you can tell?
Yep.
Okay. Mine feels pretty good. So now you're going to reach in your little workshop kit, grab one of your pieces of sandpaper, and we're going to sand this. And you know what? I'm going to give just a little bit more. You just had to know that would happen, right? Hey, Kathy and Shannon, how are you doing? I think it was probably fine before. So you want it dry. Don't rush this step. Like if you're watching this video tomorrow and you want to leave this and come back to it in half an hour, that would be fine. This would be a good time to take a tea break for real.
Drying.
They're drying? Are they still blow drying? Like well, I guess you can't tell, can you?
Nope.
Can you see what they're doing, Wendy? Isn't there a new feature on Facebook where you can do that? Is there like a little button you can click now where you can invite them? It's like a Zoom or something. Can you see that on the live? I heard about that. They probably don't want to be invited because they're probably at home in their like comfy clothes with their...
Well, I know Instagram has something like that, but...
and I think I heard Facebook now. You guys can like join in live. I don't know if we can see you or not, but if you're up for that, Shannon and Kathy, we're up for it. Okay. So I'm going to keep going.
Yep. I think you're good.
I'm good? Okay. So take your little piece of sandpaper and just sand it. And now I'm going to try and show you. Maybe you can zoom in, Wendy.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to get really chalky. Can you see the chalk coming up there? If I do that, can you see it?
Yes, on the table.
You can see it on, yeah, okay.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. That's just the chalk coming off of it, and that's a good thing. So when you wipe it, your hand's going to be like that, but now all of a sudden your board should be really, really smooth. So all of those little bumps that Kathy was talking about should be gone, and your hand should be dirty. And then just take anything, a paper towel or your white rag that you have or anything, and now make sure you wipe all of that chalk off. Something just slightly damp would be great. Just make sure you get the chalk cleaned off. But now you should have like a very smooth surface. And don't go too deep with the sanding because you'll get back down to the bare wood. If you do that, if you get back down to the bare wood, it'll most likely happen on your edges and your frame's gonna cover it anyway, or you've just rustic it up, or you can go back in and paint it, that's fine. But make sure you get the chalk off. Yeah, so now when I touch it, my hand is clean. Okay, then you're going to take your top coat. Should unpack my whole kit here. Maybe I'll do that. Now there's two things left in it. This can be like my garbage bin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wendy's probably glad because I don't usually clean up after myself. Okay, so find a little cup that you can use for your top coat. We're gonna seal it right now. Maybe gonna wipe this. Oops. I've got chalk everywhere. If my dad's still watching, he's not going to like this next move. Putting the chalk in my bag, mostly Dad. He's probably quit watching anyway. There we go. Okay, go ahead and put your top coat in whatever little container you have handy. Sorry, we didn't put those in your kit. Shake your top coat up because it will settle a little bit to the bottom. And you're not going to use very much top coat, but go ahead and dump that into some sort of container that you have. Feel really dirty. I feel like someone's going to start talking to us.
I know.
I feel like someone's going to jump in and say something at any moment, which would actually kind of scare me, but I keep waiting for it to happen. Okay. Oh, and I spilled my top coat. Every time. Every video so far, we have some sort of moment where I'm like, oh, there's my moment. Hopefully that's it. Okay. So use your clean. Do not use the same brush you have already used. Use a clean foam brush, one of the little 1-inchers. And when you're top coating, this is a less is more situation. So all we're trying to do is seal the paint and give us something for the transfer to stick to. There is no need to do a thick layer. It's almost like if you can see it, it's too much. All we're gonna do, maybe, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Wendy maybe has to, but no, you can't see it. But you just wanna make it shiny and wet looking. That's it. This does not need to be thick. Thick is not better, thin is better. So just to give yourself kind of a slick surface for that transfer to later adhere to. So just a once over, doesn't even need to be where the stencil's gonna go. And the neat thing about our chalk paint and our chalk paint and what sealer is that you can paint over top of it. So we're gonna see it, we're gonna stencil right over top of the
Oh, yeah, you can see it.
You can see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I kind of like, I'm going to go both directions. Your wood is going to get a little bit more see-through at this moment. Don't worry about that. And just get it sealed. And really, you're only going to do the lemons on one side or the other. But you might as well seal the whole thing. The lighting in this spot is really terrible. Really thin coat, down and dirty, and that's probably good. And go ahead and hit it with your blow dryer again. And we're not going to use the top coat again, so you can either put that back in the bottle. This is an organic product, so if you thought you would use this on another project, you could stick this in your refrigerator. It will last for about 2 years that way. But we're done with it tonight. So And it dries really, really fast. Okay, time to stencil. So I would now maybe take a little moment to look at my painting and think, oh, where did I do a good job and where did I do a bad job? What do I want to cover? I have a spot right here that isn't as thick. So I'm going to put my lemons, I think, on this side and my stencil on this side. So go ahead. I actually haven't cut my lemons out yet. I wanted to show you this too. So when you open up that transfer and it comes out like this, so a couple of things. Keep your white backing on. Do not let the transfer fold over onto itself. We've used paper clips and tape to keep your transfer in this format. You want to leave the white backing on for as long as possible. So as you pull out your transfer, don't let the white backing come off. What do we got here? That's pretty. I'll try to find something challenging here to show you. And then, let's say you were buying a new transfer, you can just cut it with regular scissors. So I am going to take, what will I take? I will take these 3 lemons across the top maybe. So just cut it apart. Cuts really, really easily. It's just an acrylic sheet. And you've already got yours cut apart for you, of course. This is all it takes to cut these apart, which is really nice. We'll save that for another one. And then even if you're storing them, you want to roll it back up with that white paper on and put it back in the tube. This one too. Because once the white paper comes off, they start to absorb the dust in the air and everything around them, and they will not adhere as well, or they will stick. And once they go down and stick, you cannot get them back up. So I'm going to take a minute and cut this apart. Cut around here. You guys all have different lemons, so if you opened yours up and it's in a nice 3 formation, you can still cut it apart, or you can just be like, thank you, Julie, for giving me an easy one. Okay, so I'm just going to play for a minute with my lemon. And so for example, I think that this leaf is a little bit weird here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the leaf off. I'm not going to get rid of the leaf because I might want to add it back in a different spot later on. I'm going to cut that leaf away. I'll be honest with you, I was a little disappointed in myself when I put this leaf down here because I thought, it's kind of weird when you don't have any more lemon drop coming down, right? So probably that leaf shouldn't be there, and yet you bought the kit anyway. Okay. Let's see here, and I think it's weird if we have a vine coming from over there, so I'm going to get rid of that. So you can totally, the transfers are totally able to be layered on top of each other, and they are able to be moved around and changed up. That's what makes them kind of unique, right? Maybe like that. You might have to move that one, so try this one. Actually, that one's got to go at the top. Okay, I'm going to cut this leaf off right now too. And we're not taking these apart at this moment. Keep that white backing on. Feeling like maybe I should have had one I practiced with. So mine's going to end up, we don't need it perfect right now, but mine's going to end up something about like that. Just kind of hold it there. Take your vinyl stencil now and decide how you want to place it. So you want to make sure, now these will go over top of your stencil if you want them to, but if you don't want them to, make sure you can see all your words and rearrange things just kind of loosely so that you know what you're going to work with. So that's actually, I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and take these off, try and keep them in similar order. Now we're actually gonna stencil next. The lemon part of this is just for calculating where you want to put your final stencil. So how do you think everybody's doing? Any word?
No, no words.
Okay. So
Must be good.
Must be good. We're gonna roll with it. So you can measure if you want. If you want, I never measure. You can measure if you want, and if you want to mark this, you can take a piece of tape and tape it down and mark it to come back. There's not a lot of options here for where it's going to go, so I should teach better than I do. So your lemon is here. I just know that I kind of like it lined up on this edge. I think it looks good like that. It's going to fit, so I'm going to go with that. I'm not worried about up and down too much. I think it looks pretty straight. You can, if you wanted to, you could tape it over both of these pieces here, and then use your X-Acto knife to tape it to cut through that tape, and it would give you like a guideline. Pretty hard to mess this up, so be wild. Don't measure. If it looks good to your eye, that's sometimes way better than measuring in straight and all of that stuff anyway. That's totally up to you. Okay, so you are going to decide where you want your stencil, and then you are going to peel off the backing paper. So the backing paper is the paper that has the grid line on it, and you want to peel that off. And I like to peel it up on an angle, just because it seems like if you peel it straight across, it's more likely to lift. Part of, like, you've got all these little tiny pieces of stencil in the E's and inside the H and all of that stuff that it might want to lift. So if you can just kind of peel it on an angle, it tends to want to lift less. And when you are done, your blue paper, or your backing paper, it's not always blue, but your backing paper, which is the one with the grid on it, should be completely clean. That's the goal. And then just flip it back over. Can they see, Wendy?
Yeah.
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 Flip it back over and lay it down wherever you decided to put it. Press it down with your fingers. And then take that credit card or gift card or driver's license or whatever you have handy, and you're going to burnish it down into the board. It's really hard to see. I'm sorry. I ordered some blue stencil paper and it didn't come. Everything's slow shipping right now. So it's hard to see because it's white on white, but it's there. And by the time we do another project, hopefully that blue vinyl has shown up. So just go over it a few times. You can give it a fair bit of force, and you're good. And this is the tricky part because it's hard to see. Hopefully your lighting is better than mine is. Now you want to peel up the transfer paper, and that is the whole stencil peeling up. You want to get just that top layer. So with the piece that you laid down is 3 layers. So it's got this backing on here, then it's got a very white stencil, and then this kind of creamy color, which apparently is the same color as Navajo, is on top. And I like to peel this on an angle as well, and go slow. There's no reason to rush this process, and you just want to be checking on this masking, pre-mask as you go, that none of the insides of your letters are coming. Now, if they do come, let's say this little tiny E lifted, you would just lay this back down and burnish it again to the board. But I find if you go on an angle and you go slow and your board was dry.
Is the blue supposed to be blank?
Yeah, the blue should be completely clean when you're done. You just can peel it back. And don't rush. I see some people rush on videos and then they tear their vinyl and they lift things up, and there's just no need to rush this. Just take an extra second. It doesn't take long. Go slow. Okay, then this part is garbage. The transfer part is garbage, and I know it's really hard to see. So can you see that in the video, that it's now white? It's like bright white onto the Navajo?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Does that help if I do that? Yeah,
that's better.
Okay, so that's what you should have at this moment. I'll give us a thumbs up or something if you guys are good to carry on, or you're too busy to talk to us, or maybe you decided that you're going to do it tomorrow and you didn't tell us you're leaving, and now we're calling you out. Nothing?
Nothing.
I feel like I did that a little bit fast. As I was saying, go slow. I think I was talking to myself more than anything else.
Kathy needs time.
Kathy needs some time? We can give Kathy time. What can we talk about while we give Kathy time?
Shannon's a little behind.
Okay. We can wait for you guys for a minute. Everybody else can just hit pause here.
Yeah.
I know that went really quickly for me. I could work on my lemon placement for a minute because I feel like I took those 3 across the top, which I did not give to anybody in the kit. So it's a little bit tricky because they all want to go that way. So I might have to cut this one apart a bit more. No, I'm just going to bring it over like that. That's what I'm going to do. Apparently I'm just going to talk to myself. I might cut it up a little bit there. I'm going to cut a little bit more of that off. Oh, I think I like that one then up there. Oh, that's kind of pretty. Okay, that's the order I'm going to go then do those in. So once you get your vinyl adhered to your board, so you've got it in this position, and everything's laid down, you are going to take your blue backing sheet and you are going to lay it over top of your stencil, and you're going to take your credit card again and you're going to burnish it one more time. And the reason we do that is you'll probably notice as you're trying to peel that transfer paper up that it's quite tacky and it's adhered really well, and sometimes it just lifts it enough that it'll give a spot for the paint to escape when you're stenciling. So if you go back over top of it and you do it with this blue paper on top, the blue paper prevents you from lifting some little piece, it prevents you from tearing your vinyl or creating any bubbles, but it still allows you to press down and adhere it better.
Kathy asked, did you take the transfer off?
The transfer tape, do you think? Yes, so you should have, so when you got your stencil, Kathy, it should have been this blue backing, then the white vinyl, then the transfer tape. So you take the blue piece off and it's clean, you lay down the vinyl, and now you're peeling the top layer off. So you should be down to 1 layer on here. Or maybe she means the lemons. Do you mean the lemons off? The lemons are just kind of there for placement and set to the side. I feel like you should phone us, Kathy. Your board should look like this at this step. So just that's, I know it's hard to see. That's just the white vinyl stencil left on here at this point. So you're going to take your blue backing sheet, place it down over top. Kathy's good? Okay, lay this down over top and then just burnish it with your credit card one more time. No word from Shannon? No. Everybody else is watching this tomorrow morning or something. Which if you are watching this tomorrow morning or next week or a month from now, just because we're not on here live with you then, please still send us questions. If you get to a spot and you get stuck and we don't answer the questions, we're here to help you for sure. Take your credit card and burnish that down one more time just in case anything lifted. Take your fingers, run it over top. And it should feel like it's stuck really good to the board. And then this is garbage. Okay, then you're going to take that little bit of black paint I have down here. And we're going to stencil it with this little, it's like a makeup sponge. I like the makeup sponge for stenciling because you don't get all the brush strokes in it. So if you've taken a workshop from me in the past, you probably have used one of these and it's been a little bit frustrating and maybe a little bit inconsistent. So this is something I've just started using not that long ago, and I think it gives a nicer, smoother finish. And the great thing about stenciling black onto white is that it's very easy to cover. So this is not going to be a long, complicated, many layer process. And I would also say with stenciling, less is more. So not just that you don't need a lot of paint on your stencil sponge, but that you don't want to do a lot of layers. And the reason is why is you get brush strokes and strokes in it the more paint you use, but you also get like a lifted edge, which you would never see a lifted edge on a professionally made sign. So we want to end up with professional results. So this is a less is more situation. Did you have a question?
Nope.
Well,
Just making sure.
I
know.
I'm like,
I was just making sure.
So take your sponge, dip it in your black paint, which now should crust it over just a little bit, which will make it a little bit, well, we kind of have to, mine really crusted over. We were right under a fan. I didn't mean for that to happen. And take it off on the edge. So it's sort of like you've made your set sponge black, but there shouldn't really be any paint on it. And if you have a paper towel handy or you're working on a surface, like a paper surface, something, just dab it off on it. Can they see that with you? Can I move that maybe?
Yeah.
Dab it off so that there can never, if you don't have a lot of paint on your sponge, you can never get a paint run, like a drip, because the drips aren't full. So I'm going to take most of it off actually, and now it's sort of like almost dry. Like there's hardly like there's any paint on it. And I like to work in a circular motion. And as you go, now all of a sudden your stencil is going to become a lot easier to read. So as I do this first layer, I pick it up. Now you can really read the home, right? And see the 3 little dots. Can you see it on there?
Yeah.
So it's not a thick layer of paint at all. It's like you can still see the vinyl around it, but it's just a little bit thicker where the letters are. That's a good first coat. Any more than that, and that's what causes a drip.
So if one of their inside of their E or their A or something like that lifted up,
of their A?
The E.
Of the E. Somebody lost a
The
part
center.
of their E.
Yeah.
So probably, and it's gone. Is it missing? Who's that?
Kathy.
Kathy. So you could either go back in later, Kathy. This is probably what I would do. Watch that spot. If you've lost the little E, don't stress about it. If you've lost a little bit of an E, don't put a lot of paint in that spot, but make sure it's not thick. And then later just go back in, like with a Q-tip or the end of a pencil or something, and you can just draw it back in. It's just a dot, right, with your white paint. Because if your little piece of vinyl is gone, which they are little pieces of vinyl, you can fix that up with paint. Let me know if that works. If that's what she means.
Yes.
Probably what she means? Okay. Okay, so just keep going in a circular motion. Do not pound it. When you stipple it up and down like this, which you see people do all the time, it forces the paint underneath the stencil and you get bleeds. So thin layers, circular motion, and gentle. Like there's no reason to be pushing really hard here. And just kind of keep working it as you go. And you will not get it perfect the first time, so that's okay. We're just trying to, it's sort of like this first layer of paint seals it too, to keep it from bleeding later on. Probably you're going to use 2 thin layers of black to get a really nice finished look. But thin layers, I can't emphasize that enough. And like you have so much more black paint than what you need. So do not think, oh my gosh, I didn't use all my paint at any point in time. This is way more paint than you'll ever need to complete this project. Everybody doing okay?
I think so.
Yes, Phil. As long as they're speaking up when they have trouble, they're asking great questions, which is so helpful when you ask the questions. Because we know there'll be people doing this
Later.
after. I was really worried nobody was going to come tonight, and I didn't know what questions to tell you to answer. Be mindful of the edge of your stencil. I know it's hard to see. We gave you about a 1/2 inch around every letter. You can clean it off after if you happen to go over the edge. Don't stress. But okay, and I mean I've got 1 layer all the way down, and I'm going to start at the top again. Because I did such a thin layer, it's dry. And as you do the second layer now, it fills right in. Sometimes a little spot doesn't. You can just come back to it. You are working on a sealed surface too. So remember that. So it's not, when you stencil onto a chalky surface, it sometimes soaks up more paint and it's not as smooth. So you're working on a sealed surface, so it doesn't take as much paint to paint a sealed surface, if that makes sense. So it's really just going to take a very small amount of paint. Wendy keeps looking at me like, what's that look, Wendy?
No, I'm just checking, make sure everybody can see good.
Okay. Is this a good spot for me to do
Yeah,
that?
no, you're good.
Okay. Can everybody hear me? Did anyone say anything about hearing me? I
Maddie's-
don't know why I'm asking, can you hear me in a quieter voice than I talk the whole time? Okay. And don't worry about, like if you can see a little bit of white around your black in your word and you can't get it to take it, you are better to leave that tiny little sliver of white than try to fill it in totally, because if you try to fill it in totally, that's usually when you cause a bleed, because you're pushing it underneath the stencil trying to fill that little area in. So if you see a little bit of a white edge on the letter, like you're never going to know when you pull it off, and you're going to have a cleaner, better finished product or finished look if you let that go. So I see like so many people get so close. So I think I can show you right here actually. I'm so worried because my hands are dirty. So like look down here around, this will be the word melt. Can you see those little bits of white around the letters there, Wendy?
I think so.
Kind of, like you can see, technically that should all be black and painted, but there's just like this little bit of a white rim there. I'm not going to worry about it or mess with it because in the overall scheme of things, it won't change the look of the letters. But if I was to try and force black paint in there to stencil it, I can for sure make it bleed. And bleeds are they're not the end of the world, but it's better not to have bleeds. It's also kind of intimidating, don't you think, to put black paint right onto a white surface? That's all. This is the hardest mental stenciling, is whenever we stencil black onto white. It's like, but it's okay. Covers really nice and easy, which is good. Okay, I think I'm done. So that was like 2 layers, thin layers. And then wash your hands because we're gonna pick up that white board again. Yeah, that looks good. And where's my lid for my black paint? Trying really hard not to spill my black paint. Just my top coat tonight. Okay, so I'm gonna wipe my hands. And now everyone thinks that you need to let a stencil dry completely before you pick it up. And the problem with letting it dry before you lift the stencil up completely is that it gets kind of cakey, right? And that's harder to peel up when it's cakey. So I actually would like to lift the stencil up fairly quickly, not let it dry for a long time. Remember, if you have followed the steps and you haven't used a lot of paint on here, it can't bleed and it can't run because there isn't any paint here left to bleed or run. And so mine, when I touch it, I'm getting a tiny little bit of chalk on my finger. I'm not getting any actual paint. So it's good to pick up. Even if it's a little bit wet, you're probably better to pick it up now or to lift it up now than you are to leave it until it gets cakey. So in a workshop, sometimes we'll have people be like, oh, is it dry enough? Is it dry enough? And if you have used a lot of paint, if it's very thick, then you do need to leave it for a minute. But if you've used these 2 thin layers, you're actually good to peel it up right away, which is, it's kind of counterintuitive and scary. It just makes the process easier. The longer you leave it, the harder it is to lift it up. So now at this point, you don't have to be super careful because there is nothing that you can ruin. So I like to go slow, just kind of around the letters, just because I'm lazy and I don't want to come back and pick all of that out. So if you can kind of get in there, can they see that? If you can kind of get in there and just peel away, then you have less to go back and get later is the whole process. You'll never get it all, but just peel it. I don't know why, but I like to do this on an angle too. It might just be, there's no real reason. You can go fast here too. Just have more to come back in and get. No right or wrong. Don't you love it when there's no right or wrong? It's all just good. I developed an accent there. Okay. Okay, and this is garbage. We are done with that. I'm just gonna go ahead and knock that off. Now, on your instruction sheet, we asked you to grab a craft knife or an X-Acto knife, and that's where this comes in. So you don't want to dig into the paint. You just kind of want to slide in underneath the stencil if you can to pick out those little pieces of leftover vinyl. So you've got a lot on this one, unfortunately, to dig out. So it's like the center. Is my hand in the way there?
No, you're good.
I'm good. So it's like the center of the H, and if you haven't used a lot of paint, they'll be easy to see. And you kind of just want to get it so that it's just enough to grab it. So you're not actually digging into the wood, but you're digging that little bit of vinyl out. It doesn't take, like, you don't need to press hard or push down a lot. You're just kind of trying to capture, or catch, sorry, not capture, the edge. Just like so. And there's, because it's a script, there's a lot of little pieces of vinyl to get. But it's just a flicking motion more than a, if you dig down on it, you'll make a you'll dent your paint underneath. Oh, the lighting is terrible here. And don't overthink it. So I usually start every workshop, and I haven't told you guys this yet. We're not like going for perfect made in a factory here. We're going for something that you can say you made, that you can be proud of for sure. But if you wanted to buy perfect, you would buy something made by a computer in a factory. This is supposed to be something that you made. And trust me when I say, even as you look at it like this, you are the only person who is ever going to study this like this. So the rule in our workshop is that if it looks good from about 6 feet back, 10 feet back actually, you're good. So do not now sit here and criticize your own work as you dig out the stencils. Enjoy the process. Know that you are going to be proud that you made it, and that it's not going to be perfect. We don't have no need for perfect. There's no room for perfect here. This is meant to be not something that you bought at Rustic Branch, but something that you made with us. And let me fill you in on another little secret. When people like come over and they say, "Oh, I love your lemon sign. Where did you get it?" And you're going to say, "I made it," and they're going to be like impressed that you made it. They are not going to be picking it apart. So don't be like, "I made it. I wish I would have done this." We don't do any of that. We just say thank you, because they'll be all jealous of it anyway, because you've done a great job. So do not pick it apart. I just made a total mess out of my bee. There we go. Yeah, I'm always like, look at what I made. My family can barely look up, and they just say, "Oh, that's really nice." They've never even looked at it. So just remember that. You might need a Q-tip, Wendy.
Okay.
It's really great. Whenever you take a workshop from me, you can always learn what not to do. I'm super consistent with that. Honestly, I would say my paint was thicker than it needed to be too. It's funny, it looks like it's not going to be thick enough when you've got the vinyl behind there, but as you get it onto the solid, just onto the painted surface, it almost kind of pops back out at you too. A little bit there. It's like, don't worry, just don't worry. Okay. It's a lot of little letters to pick out. I think I have got them. So I was talking and not paying attention. Shocking. So I dug into the wrong spot on my bee. So the bee has a line in the middle of it, which I forgot about, and I dug my X-Acto right into that line. So if you do something like that, I like to just take a Q-tip and take the end of it off so that there's not a lot of fuzz on it. So it's like a sharp, or like a stick more than anything. And I'm just going to take a tiny little bit of black paint and fill in that spot. Now, if you have a bleed, you can do the reverse with this. So if you have a letter that bled, you can also take a Q-tip and put a little bit of water on it and like erase the paint in the spot where it shouldn't be. And now it's good again. Oh, maybe I did one there too. I did not know you were leaning in, Wendy. Nope. Okay, well now I can show you what not to do there too. So I tried to fix that little spot and I missed it. So now I've got black paint where I don't want it. So I'm going to take the other end of my Q-tip, dip it in clean water, and just erase it. Keep cleaning your Q-tip so you don't spread black paint around or get a different Q-tip. Actually, I think it's gone now. So yeah, if you have a little bit of a bleed, that's how you fix the bleed, and that's why I did that. I really wanted you guys to know that. Okay, that is done. So we're just gonna kind of let that set aside. Let that stenciling finish drying, and now we are going to lay down our transfer. So your board needs to be super dry for this, and I would say they are. So now I'm going to take the backing off as I go. I would not press it down at this moment. Just kind of gently lay it there because I find it easier to place when I don't have the white backing behind it. And I'm going to go over top of it with that one. And I'm going to come underneath it with that one. So you want to lay them down in the order that you're going to sort of like, if you were thinking of them as a 3D object, in the order that you would see them pop out at you. So you cannot adhere, this transfer, which is going to go over top, has to go down after you've lifted up this paper. Does that make sense when I'm saying it like that, Wendy?
Sorry, what?
Oh, she wasn't listening.
I was reading.
What were you reading? Do we have a question?
Yes.
Okay.
Kathy would like to know, do we need to finish picking out the little black pieces first?
No, of course. Yeah, anytime is good for that. Am I going too fast? Does that mean I'm going too fast? I'll take a tea break. Water break. No, you can do that anytime. Okay, so as we layer a transfer, if you were to take this lemon, which is my middle lemon, you won't all have pieces that need to be layered, but let's just pretend you might, and you laid it down right now, you would be transferring it onto this paper and not onto the board. So you have to kind of work from the back to the front, if that makes sense. So I know that this lemon is going to go up in this corner. I like that lemon there. So I'm going to go ahead and lay that lemon down first. So now I'm going to take my hand, run it over top of the lemon, and I just get it, it's got a natural adhesion to it. Now if you bought the whole transfer, you would use this little stick, but because you just got pieces of the transfer, we're going to go back to using our credit card. I wonder if everybody needs a second here, hey? Hopefully. Let's give you all a second just in case. So you don't have to pause me later. I guess you can pause me later. Shannon and Kathy think they're fine? Who knows? Hopefully. If you have one piece, so some of you will have got a piece of transfer that has 3 lemons in it. You're laughing. You only have to do this one step, one way. So now you've got your lemon laid down, take your finger, run it over top of it. Now you're going to take your credit card and you're going to just press down it like when you were burnishing the stencil. Just kind of go over it like that. Now, if you're using the transfer stick, you would be able to start to see it release. With the credit card, I don't ever see it release. So now you're going to pick up a corner, pick up a spot that doesn't have lemon in it. I'm going to start down here actually. Can they see, Wendy? I'm going to pick it up and kind of get some air underneath of it and start to go over it a little harder and lift as I go. And as it, can you see that if you come in close? So as it transfers, it starts to get opaque. It changes color. And let's say you're going along and you lift this up and you notice that there's a piece of the leaf still left on the transfer. You can just lay it right back down and continue to rub. It's sort of like, if you can, just air will help you the most. So it's like press, lift. Once it starts to go, it seems to naturally want to follow and lay down. And you lift, and you press. And it's so pretty. And the edge of something, so like the edge of the, once you start the lemon, it goes a little bit quicker, but when you get to the edge of the flower or the edge of a leaf, just go a little slower and check it. If it cracks, it's okay. It's just a little bit more rustic. There we go. And that is fully adhered. Eee, it's so pretty. So there's your first lemon on. So now what you want to do, once you get your first lemon down or your first bit of lemon, if you've got one that's all connected or two that's all connected, keep going. Once you get that down, you're going to take your, I'll just use my transfer paper that it came off with and rub over top of it and just make sure it's burnished down. Either side will work, but I like to use the shiny side. And burnish it into the wood. Sorry, use that unshiny side. Use the side the transfer came off. Doesn't really matter with this slide better. I think I always say that and then I end up doing it the other way. Okay, so that one's down. So then, I know this one's gonna end up on top. So I'm gonna use this lining it up just to line up where it's gonna go. I'm gonna actually come right in here. So then this one, well that's interesting. Oh, I changed my mind. I'm gonna do this one next because I wanna layer it on top. So I'm gonna go right over top of that lemon. Where do I want it? I have to decide where I want it first. I think I want it something like that. Well, maybe I want something like that. Hi, Mermont. I do like that one right there. I like it there too, though. It's good news, you can't hardly go wrong. Kind of neat when it's kind of like, that one doesn't have a stem. Do I have extra stem? I do have a little extra stem and an extra leaf. Oh, I'm feeling some pressure right now. I like that. I like it like that. Okay, so this one's going to end up on top actually. So I'm going to lay this lemon down and just repeat the process. Where's my credit card? So go over top, rub, and start to lift. No, they're concentrating right now, okay? Don't be afraid. Try and get that to lift. There we go. And it's like the air part is really important. The lifting slowly is how you know that it's laid down. And it just peels right up, just like butter. I was going slow last time so you guys could see it, but actually it's like that. That one is a little bit crooked. Okay, and then we're gonna lay this one on top. Like that. Now, I will tell you this. One time, she laughs. One time I accidentally, I just didn't know. It wasn't an accident, that's how I learned. Laid a lemon on top of the green. And because the green is darker than the lemon, the darker color will show through, which looks super weird. So, green over yellow, totally fine. Yellow over green, not the best. So think about that when you're placing your lemons. Okay, lay that down. Oh, and there's a little piece down there I should cut off probably. Yeah, well it's on there now. You can sand these off if you don't like the look of them, but other than that, they're permanent. I so keep waiting for someone to say something.
Shannon's are down.
Shannon's lemons are down?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, superstar. You can have some tea, Shannon. I feel like I should hurry up. Oh, I hurried up and cracked my leaf. That's good. Okay. Now just take this again, back over top, burnish it in. Cute. Okay, we're almost done. So let's just set that aside for a minute. What do you think?
It's good.
Is he okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so actually let's not set it aside. Let's carry on. Let's go straight to wax. So if you have taken a class from us before, you likely haven't waxed because we never wax in a workshop because we never know how. So usually, not that we don't know how, but it's hard to do in a workshop. So this is a wax brush. You don't need a wax brush. A wax brush you use in circuit. Make sure you have everything cleaned up off your board before you start to do this, and then it's dry. You know what? Here's another thing you can do. My letters are just a little bit thick. So I am going to I use more paint than I like. So if you can feel a big ridge on your letters, this is a scary thing to do. But if your letters are dry and you can feel a ridge, I don't like the ridge. I like it when it feels really smooth. So I am going to actually take my sandpaper and go right over top of my black. And just smooth those letters out a bit. And I like it a little bit rustic, so if I go too far in one spot, that's okay. Tap that off. Do not use a wet rag in this moment. Use a dry rag in this moment to take that dust off. And I've rusticked it up a little bit, rusticked up my letters a little bit, and I've got a smooth finish now. And on that note, I'm going to actually sand a little bit in the white, just to kind of give it a little bit more of a rustic feel. So depending if you want it very modern and kind of clean looking, then you don't need to do this. If you want it a little bit more rustic, which I do, so this one I'm going to keep at my house, I'm going to sand it a little bit more. You can sand the transfer, but it's already distressed and it will come up faster than you think. So I would not recommend sanding the transfer. You can if you think it's too bright, but it happens fast. So while they are sandable, I would not sand it in this case. There. Just a little more rustic. And if you don't want to sand there, you don't have to sand there. Oh yeah, I like that. Now it all kind of has the same amount of distressing as the lemons. So I think that's cute. Hopefully my dad got bored and turned off the fridge and all this chocolate dust on the floor. So anyway, if you have a wax brush, you can now get your wax brush out to wax it. If you do not have a wax brush, that is okay. You just need, like, this is an old t-shirt. You want something that is lint-free and soft, that is not abrasive. And you just cut a little piece of it off. So I think like wax on, wax off, where does that come from? Is that like from snowboards or skis, or where does wax on, wax off come from?
Karate Kid.
Karate Kid, okay. We're gonna do Karate Kid this time then. So, really, that's where it comes from? I gotta get out more. So this is like enough wax to do 10 signs. I don't know why I gave you so much wax, because you do not use all this wax. So you are going to take, can you see? Just like this little bit of wax and go over top of your whole sign. And it is literally like wax on, wax off. So the less wax you use and the more you buff it, the better finish you will get. Does that make sense how I said that, Wendy? The more wax you use, the more you buff it. The less wax you use.
Yes.
The less wax you use, the more you buff it, the better finish you will get. And you're just going to work in a circular motion over the top of your board. And keep working it in. You're going to kind of see it turn that wet look again. That's cool. And go right over top of your transfer. So the reason we use wax on a transfer as opposed to like a top coat is this. So first of all, our wax smells really good. Some of the waxes out there don't smell good, but this is it's a beeswax wax, natural wax. I actually don't know if it's beeswax, but it's natural wax, and it's breathable. So as the transfers off gas, as they say, if you were to seal it like with a varathane or a harsh chemical, I've done okay with top coat. But the better that the transfer can breathe, I guess is the word, as it off gases, the better adhesion you'll get. So if you seal over top of it with like a varathane or something, you need to let it sit for many days to make sure it's totally adhered. If you're doing a transfer on glass, like in our windows, you don't need to seal it at all. So it's not that it needs the sealing, but it'll give you a uniform finish over the whole sign instead of having like this part waxed and this part not waxed. When you do it this way, you end up with a cohesive looking sign. And that is all you have to do. Now if you did not sand it, or if you did not sand it, you're sealed underneath here with top coat. So the other thing about not sanding it, or about waxing it, is right now, under here you have top coat, here you have transfer, and here you have unfinished paint. So if you were to you don't have to seal it. It's not going to come off, but if you left it with those 3 finishes, you would get 3 different looks on your sign. So by just rubbing a little bit of wax on top of it, you have, it's just a more professional, better looking sign. So go ahead and set that aside. Pick up your frame, take a look at your frame. I am also going to distress my frame a little bit because that's how I like it. You do not have to do this. If your frame is the way you like the look of it now, then you can just go straight to waxing it. But I'm gonna try not to put the black chalk in the wax and give it a little bit of a sand. So my first project, I didn't sand down to at all. So on this project, actually I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't even think I sealed the frame on this one yet. Nope, I sure didn't. I didn't sand it at all. I sanded the edge a little bit, I guess. But I didn't sand, I just sanded this enough to get the ridges out of it and that finished look. So this is all just about sanding and how much distressing and how much rusticness you like. So this is optional. And the same thing on the frame, a little bit of sanding will smooth out any roughness. If you have little bumps on the frame and you're not liking those, you can sand it and then you can paint it again too, because you've got lots of black paint here. No questions?
Nope.
I don't want it super, well, I do want it pretty rusty. I never know what I want till I see it. Now you've got like black everywhere. But it's not toxic, so that's good, and it's easy to clean up, so I'm covered in it. Oh well, you don't know if you were creative if you weren't messy, right? Well, I kind of think that might be a little bit more right here. Okay, so now you notice if you sanded the black, it got gray. That's just because it's chalk paint. That's just the chalk.
There we go.
Don't use your wax rag as a hand rag. That is not what that is for, and I used it for that, so get rid of that. So go ahead and wipe the chalk off, the dust off again. No, it's the same person who interrupted our live on
Is it?
Tuesday night. Yeah, clearly she doesn't watch the live. She just calls me during it. So see how chalky and gray it gets? Can they see that?
Yep.
Yeah. Don't worry, that's just the chalk coming out. So when we seal it, that's going to go away. And we're going to seal it the same way we sealed the frame. Oh, jeez. There we go. I'm trying to work in like this little area so you guys can see everything I do, and I keep getting little bits of everything on it. Okay, I'm going to start with a new rag because I used the other one for my hands. This is the last step almost. We're just going to seal this frame and then put those screws back in and we're totally done. Hopefully you guys have learned something along with completing the project. Even if you don't do this project, I hope it's helpful for you when you DIY and the transfers. I don't know, Wednesday, we set a date. Have we set a date Wednesday? We haven't really talked about a date we're going to do the transfers, have we, on the windows?
Nope.
We're going to do a window transfer for you guys. That was our most popular workshop last year, and we are going to share that with you guys, hopefully in the next week. Okay, so as you see, you start to wax it. Can they see that? How it changes right away back to black, right?
Yep.
Now it's got just a little bit of sheen. It brings out the distressing and finishes the frame off. And it does not take you a lot of wax. And you should probably go everywhere you painted just to keep it consistent and to keep it sealed. Especially because we sanded it, or if we sanded it. Just put the wax over. The wax is a little bit harder finish to apply because it's more time consuming, I should say. It's not harder, but it is more time consuming because you don't want to get too much wax on. So you spend a little bit extra time working it in, so to speak. But it is such a pretty finish. It doesn't have a sheen, or it's not super shiny. It has a bit of a sheen, I guess. But it's such a smooth finish when you take the time to just work it in a little bit. Like you get, like that looks like it could have come, like that looks like a very expensive frame. Like it's just beautiful when it's done. No brush strokes in it now, and no, like it's just, I just did a great job. But like that is a beautiful looking frame, right? Hard to believe, I don't know, what, about an hour ago, hour and a half ago? It was just a piece of wood. All right. Whoops. I'm showing Wendy like she hasn't seen it 1,000 times. I'm amazed every time, apparently. Yeah, it looks so good. So cute. No word from our 2 participants tonight?
No. They must be working.
Yeah. I wonder when everybody else is going to do theirs. Well, I guess we'll find out.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no reason to do 2 coats of wax, but there's no harm in it. So just kind of just keep playing with it, working it in. And you could go back tomorrow and wax this. Like there's no rush to wax this tonight if you want to take a break. Or like all of this, if you guys are doing this project now off the video because you weren't able to do it with us live, there isn't anything super stressy here. So you can come back and play around with it, have dinner, go for a walk, have your tea. Okay, that looks really good, I think. Yes?
Yes.
Really dirty table here. Okay, then the last step, and you're done. Actually, Wendy, could you grab me a Sharpie? Make sure your hands are clean before you pick up your whiteboard. Did you have a question? Even though the wax will not be fully cured for a little while. Just pop it into the frame. Take your screwdriver. You could paint the back of this if you wanted to. Probably should. I don't do it. I only paint the back of something when it's like I have to start over and it's my second shot at it. That's why the other one is painted. Let's just be honest. Goes back in there, but you could paint the back. The birch is not going to work inside the frame, so if you want to paint it, go ahead and paint it. If you don't want to paint it, that's what I'm doing. And it's in there. And then I always say, because someday my children will look at this frame and they'll be like, why did she buy that? So I want them, before they throw it in the garbage, to flip it over and see that I made it. So I like to sign it. What are we, May 2020? Should be like quarantine project. So that at least when they throw it out, they will know they are throwing out something their mother made. Give that more wax.
So Shannon must have had a little bit of a thick area on her stencil.
Yep.
And it peeled a little bit when she pulled her stencil, I think.
What peeled? The paint?
I think. She said it wasn't totally dry, so it peeled a little bit with the stencil. She must have had one spot that was a little thick.
Peeled which you probably would have done that whenever you peeled it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just gonna have to go back in with a brush or a Q-tip and try to
touch it up
a little bit. That's the thick paint is a problem. So there is the completed project. No more questions?
Oh, the top coat.
The top coat what?
The top coat was too thick and not totally dry, so it peeled a little with the stencil.
The top coat peeled with the stencil? How would you know that? We don't understand, Shannon.
This is where we need a video chat.
Yeah. If the top coat peeled, like I sanded the top coat off anyway when I went back and sanded it, Or you must be able to see it. Can you see it, Shannon?
Yes.
Like it's like a hole? Like, what do you see, Shannon? Raw wood or white, or what do you see? In case it happens to someone else, we'll try to solve it right now. I keep waiting for her to tell
The
me.
area around the letters is a little darker.
Oh, I think that the area around the letters is a little bit darker. Is it just not drying out? Can you see her typing?
No.
No? The area around the letters is a little darker. Have you waxed it yet, Shannon? Probably not, hey?
She'll send a PM.
Okay, send a message. Yeah, send a message. Probably in the end of it, remember no one's gonna look at it that closely again. And take 10 feet back, 10 steps back. And if it looks good from here, you're good to go. And try not to stress about the little things. But okay, well, I think we're done. So again, if you like the project, we have kits available on our website. Or hopefully you just learned something and you had something different to watch tonight besides Friends reruns, which is what I've been watching. Do you have another question?
The wax is picking up the black.
Oh, let it, hit it with your blow dryer. The wax
Hit it
is
with your
picking up-
blow dryer, yeah.
Yeah, hit it with your blow dryer. If anything's picking up, hit it with your blow dryer. What?
Nothing.
Oh, she's laughing. I don't know why. Yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. We will be back with a DIY workshop, or DIY project for you next week, and we're working on our next workshop project too, and we really appreciate you guys tuning in. Send us a message if you're watching this video and it's not live. We're happy to help you. Hopefully, sometimes the first time is just hard, so or tricky, I guess, but we can definitely help you through it. So thanks again for tuning in. Have a great Friday night, and we will see you soon.